Namaste. I'm Nikita, and today I'm going to talk to you about chakras. The chakra system is one of my favorite topics because I believe that everything is energy. So if everything is energy, everything within us is also energy. And therefore, it helps us to identify the root cause of any of our problems or symptoms if we understand where they're coming from in relation to the chakra system. This is an ancient system, and each one of them is related to a different part of our lives. Now, it's important to say that there are two types of blockages. One is a superficial blockage. What that means is it's something temporary that you're going through right now. It's your current circumstances that are causing you to feel blocked. The other type of blockage is very deep-rooted, and that means that something that you're carrying with you from your childhood or your teenage years, your early adult years, depending on how old you are. So these are the two types of imbalances that we have. One is current, and that's good because it means that it can be easily resolved. And the other one is deep-rooted, and that might take a little bit more work and effort. So it's important to know which chakra is imbalanced, but also what type. So what we're going to do now is work through all of them, and I'm going to explain each one for you. So they start at the base of the spine, and it's quite low down. So if you just place your hand behind you, it's right at the bottom of the back, just above the pelvis. So the base chakra here, it relates to your environment. So your environment could be anything from your home, your job, your hobbies, your possessions, career, like anything to do with you in your environment feeling secure and feeling safe. So if, for example, you go through a change of job, or you go through a marriage breakdown, divorce, fertility problems, miscarriage, anything like that, it's going to cause a superficial blockage, which means that it's temporary. But if you're carrying something with you from the past, then it might be a deep-rooted blockage. Now, what tends to happen is if somebody's carrying a deep-rooted blockage and then they go through a new circumstance, then that aggravates the existing blockage. For example, if somebody has gone through a childhood trauma or something in their past that has not yet been resolved, and they've gone into adulthood without having done a great deal, they may have done some therapy or something, but they haven't actually healed. They haven't done the actual work to eliminate the blockage. And then they go through a new circumstance like a divorce or a miscarriage, or even moving home or changing job, for example. What that does is it then triggers the existing blockage. So the existing blockage, which was really deep-rooted, starts to then come up to the surface. So our brain starts to remember what we have been burying all these years, we've been suppressing, but it starts to bring it back up. And that's why people say they feel stuck, they feel stagnant. So the root chakra, which is associated with the color red, it's all about feeling secure and feeling safe. So even if you're living in your dream home, for example, you're living in a lovely place, but you don't necessarily feel happy there, then that's going to cause an imbalance. And there are many reasons why you might not be happy there, but that's going to make that area of your chakra system imbalanced. And what that results in is lower back pain, sciatica, hip pain, bladder issues. So these are some of the things that can manifest as a result of a blocked root chakra. And now we're going to move up to the next one. So this is in the abdominal area, and this is a sacral chakra. This is the color orange. Now this is to do with joy and pleasure, and so many of us don't know how to experience joy and pleasure. And this can be from everything, from food to hobbies, to creativity. So it's about being in that state of flow and being able to just be present and really experience the moment. Whereas many of us, our mind is racing a lot, and therefore we're always on to the next thing. Even we've started eating very fast maybe, and that's because the sacral chakra might have an imbalance. So again, there are two types. There is a superficial one, which means that you're temporarily feeling this way, and then there could be a deep-rooted one. So if this is not dealt with, then it can cause gynecology issues. It can cause heavy menstrual periods for women. It can cause digestive issues as well. So, things like IBS, for example, they come from the sacral chakra. It's also important to note that this is responsible for intimacy. So anything to do with joy, pleasure, and intimacy, and also creativity, comes from this area here. Now the next one is the solar plexus. Now this is one of my, I would say, troublesome chakras. This is the one that I'm constantly having to work on myself. And actually a lot of the women that I work with, they often report that their solar plexus is the one that trips them up. And the reason being is because this, associated with yellow, is responsible for our sense of self, and it's just at the top of the abdomen. So when I say sense of self, it's like everything you believe about yourself. So your self-confidence, your self-esteem, your self-care, your self-love. So anything with the word self in front of it is related to the solar plexus chakra. So your sense of self, your identity, is formed in childhood. So again, if this was not formed in a healthy way, then you might have grown up and not been a very confident person, not been able to put your best foot forward because you have fear, maybe doubt. And so that would be a very deep-rooted blockage in the solar plexus. Whereas if you go through something temporary at work, even perhaps you're a confident person and you get made redundant, then that would cause you to have a temporary blockage in the solar plexus, because then you would start wondering, like, why did I get made redundant? Why didn't anyone else? I'm very good at my job. So that's a temporary blockage. So it's important to note which type of blockage. I think a lot of these videos about chakras, they talk about them generically, but they don't talk about the fact that there are different layers of blockages. So the solar plexus is a very important one to work on, especially for someone who struggles with self-confidence and self-esteem. It's really about starting to love yourself, every part of who you are. You know, for so long I couldn't show up and do these videos, for example. I would always be nervous about them. I would worry that people would judge me or that they would criticize me. And that little voice in my head was saying, who are you to talk about this? You know, you're not an expert on this topic. Nobody's going to want to listen to you. All of that's coming from the solar plexus. And I've really had to work on it, and I'm continually working on it to be able to overcome that. Then we move up to the next one, which is the heart chakra. This is a very common one. When I do my Reiki treatments, a lot of people that I work on, they have blockages in this area. And that's because it's the place where we store our emotions. So it's the color green, and it's the place where we hold all our feelings. So again, if there's anything from the past that we've been through, if we've been hurt, if we've been betrayed, if we've been let down, if somebody has done something to us, anything that we've been through from the past, it may have caused a deep-rooted blockage. But if it's something current that we're going through, like a relationship change or breakdown, or even a friend neglecting us or not talking to us properly, that's going to cause a temporary blockage. So you'd normally feel that in this area. It manifests as chest pain. It also manifests as anxiety. A lot of people, when they have anxiety, they feel it here. Sometimes people get blockage in the heart and the solar plexus together, and that's because they're very close together, and they get chest pain, but they also might get heartburn, and heartburn's coming from the solar plexus, which is lower down. So it's important to identify where you are reacting from. So a lot of people that I work with suffer from anxiety, and I often ask them, where do you feel it? And they're sometimes not able to identify where they feel it in their body. So if you suffer from any kind of stress, tension, anxiety, notice where you're feeling it. Is it here? Is it the chest? Is it in the upper abdomen? Is it in your stomach? A lot of people feel it in the sacral. That's to do with the gut. And then we're going to move up towards the throat chakra. Now, this is another one that for me has been very current in most of my life, actually. And in fact, you'll probably see in my room right now that I've got lots of light blue and I've got lots of yellow. And there's a reason for that, because those are the two chakras that I'm constantly having to work on. And we will all have one or two that are always going to trip us up, regardless of how much we work on them in life, because those are the ones that are more likely to get blocked first. Just like if any of us go through stress, some people hold it in their neck, so others in their shoulders, some people in their stomach, their hips. So we all have different tendencies to hold our pain or our emotions in different places. So it's important to know where you're holding yours. So for me, my throat was blocked for a long time. You know, when I grew up, I always had laryngitis and glandular fever. In my early 20s, I got diagnosed with underactive thyroid. I had my tonsils out from a young age. Like, my throat chakra was always a problem for me, and that resulted in me not being able to speak up. I was so timid, I was so shy. That's why I can't even believe I'm making this video now, because I feel like it's not something that I could ever have imagined doing when I was younger. I was so timid, and my only form of expression was writing. I loved writing stories and poems. And that's how I was able to express myself. As soon as people asked me, how are you? I would just freeze. I would just go into just this inner shell where I wouldn't be able to speak. It was like my voice had just stopped and I couldn't get the words out. And people used to say, has the cat got your tongue, as a joke? And that would just make me feel even worse. So I really had to work on my throat chakra a lot in order to be able to get to a point where I'm able to now do public speaking and share my views with others and coach people, which is wonderful, and it's so rewarding. So the throat is responsible for communication, but also for expression. So if you hesitate to express yourself, or it could go the other way. Perhaps you're somebody, or you know somebody who talks too much. They don't know when to stop. They don't have a filter. That's also an imbalance, because don't forget, what we're trying to do is we're trying to achieve a state of balance. We don't want to be either way. We don't want to be underactive and we don't want to be overactive. We want to come into the middle. And then we're going to move up to the third eye. I love this one. This is probably my favorite one out of all. The third eye is in the center of the forehead, and it's responsible for your intuition. That's why I love it, because it's the place where you connect with your true self. And so many people make decisions from their logical mind, their rational mind. But if you can open your third eye chakra, you can start making decisions from your higher self. And your higher self is so clever. It's way more clever than your logical mind. It knows what's best for you. It knows how to make the best decisions, even financial investments, even, house decisions, where to live, which partner to choose. If you make your decision from the higher self, which is your intuitive mind, then you're more likely to make the right choice for you. And that's the color dark blue. And so if you don't open it, then a blockage can be caused, and the symptoms of that can lead to migraines, headaches, and also eye problems. So anything around this area here. I had a client who came to me and she had a very severe cornea problem in her eye, and the optician was quite worried about it and wanted to give her drops and medication. And she said, give me 3 months and I'm going to come back to you. And then this lady came to me for Reiki healing, and I was a bit cautious myself. I was like, well, we'll try, of course, but then, you know, if worse comes to worse, you may have to go on to the medication. So for 3 months, she did Reiki treatments consistently every week. And in addition to that, I sent her a recording of my third eye meditation. And she went back to the optician and he said it had completely gone. He couldn't believe it himself. It was amazing. It wasn't even like gone a little bit, it was completely gone. So I was really, really happy with that. And it just goes to show that the body has the ability to heal itself. And then finally we come up to the top chakra, which is the crown one. And that's also one of my favorites, because that's when you start to enter this state of complete alignment and flow. And that's here, the top of the head, and it's the color purple. So if you have started seeing purple in your meditations, that's a sign that your crown is trying to open. And when your crown opens, you enter this state of complete alignment and flow. And when you're in flow with yourself, you're in flow with the universe, then everything just starts working in your favor. Do you know anybody that is so lucky? They always get things that they want. They always go to nice places on holiday. They always, they just enjoy life. They just seem like everything is working out for them. If you know anyone like that, it's likely to be because they're in this state of flow. Now, maybe they're not consciously working on their chakras. I know many people who are not even spiritual in the slightest, and they are in a state of flow. It's because they naturally are evolved in that way. And then there's others like us who have to actually work on it, and that's not a bad thing. But it's nice to be able to know that once you open all of them, then the reward is you get to open the crown. And when you open the crown, you enter this state of bliss, and that bliss is known as Dharma. When you're in a state of Dharma, you're basically being your true authentic self. And you can watch my other video about Dharma if this is a topic that interests you. So I hope you found it fascinating. It was a very quick overview of the chakra system. I do have a longer e-course available. If you would like to visit my website, you can have a look at that. It's journeywithnikita.com. Thank you so much for being with me today. Namaste.